Before Christmas, Maine lost one of our best homegrown performers, singers, and songwriters. David Mallett passed away. He was 73.
Dave Mallett was a singer and songwriter whose works were known by music fans around the country. He appeared several times with us here on 207. Don Kerrigan, who knew him for many years, joins us now with a look back.
Yeah, we're the same age, both went to the University of Maine. Dave Mallett was a guy from a small town in the hills of Maine, and that was reflected in many of his songs, especially the early ones, and they endured. There was always some of Maine in Dave Mallett, and we loved that.
Inch by inch and row by row, gonna make this garden grow.
For thousands who have loved his music, this is what first drew them to David Mallett. The Garden Song, written as he told Rob Caldwell a few years ago on his family's farm.
Because that's the way it goes, you know. You just take a pad and you write down what you can. And I thought, this is kind of neat.
Audiences thought so too, and so did some big-time performers.
I got a cassette from Pete Seeger with him singing the Garden Song, and then he changed a few lyrics, and he wrote the lyrics that he had changed.
Inch by inch, row by row.
The John Denver thing was, because John was one of my idols. Everybody loved John Denver in the 70s. He like owned it, and far out. I mean, man, the guy was everywhere.
Mallett's career was launched. There came an album, then another and another. Eventually, there would be well over a dozen, filled with his own songs.
As a fellow singer-songwriter, I have to say that he's one of my absolute three favorite songwriters. Gordon Lightfoot, Chris Christopherson, and David Mallett.
And nevermore to leave ya.
Steve Romanoff has been writing and performing songs for decades with Maine's Schooner Fair, and says they shared stages with Mallet a dozen times over the years, in and out of Maine.
He made every word count, and I love that, which is why his songs resonate with people, because you feel in the back of your mind, I've been there.
I knew this place, I knew it well. Every sound and every smell. And every time I walked, I fell for the first 2 years or so.
David began performing when he was just a kid, playing with older brother Neil at Grange Halls and on local TV in Bangor.
The one I've mentioned, we did How Many Roads Must a Man Walk Down? And we did,
But in college and after, Mallet said he began writing his own songs, and music became career.
Now my old man was not a mover nor a shaker, just a dreamer. I'm a lot like him.
His sensibilities were those of a poet, a naturalist, a photographer, a philosopher.
David was popular in the Northeast and around the country. Then he took his family and his music to Nashville, writing songs for himself and for some of the top names in country music.
Here I am, there you are, here we go.
that turned out real well.
Wow, I want to hear more of that.
Then, after 9 years, Maine called him back.
My oldest son was going to be going into middle school, and living in the city, living in the South, I wanted my kids to be raised in Maine.
Those kids, including brothers Luke and Will, who grew up to become the second generation of Mallett brothers. Different music from their dad, but still making a name for themselves, just like he did.
But I'm so proud of that they would think enough of the work that I do to try to continue it. It's great.
Living back home in Maine, David continued writing and performing songs around the country for the next 25 years.
He was stranded in the tiny town on Fair Prince Edward Isle.
People are going to find out about him more and more, and especially now that he's gone, because he's left behind this great canon of wonderful songs that mean so much to so many people.
Do you have a favorite Dave Mallett song?
Oh, it's hard.
Hard question, Don.
That's hard. I think it would be Phil Brown.
I knew a painter in my younger days, a man who lived with brushes, sticks, and stones.
It's brilliant, but he could paint a picture. He could capture light, and no one ever loved life more than he.
And he was never much for roses. He'd sooner paint the thorns, 'cause he found a keener beauty there that no one else could see.
He wasn't much for roses. He'd sooner paint the thorns, 'cause he found a keener beauty there that no one else could see. I see that as David. You know, David Mallett had that sensibility. He'd sooner paint the thorns, says he found a keener beauty there that no one else could see.
And long through the night, a faded yellow light would burn inside the room where he would stand and play the old Victrola and drink his rusty wine and conduct the Mozart music with his heart in his shaking hand.
Dave Mallett's music, he says, will live on as part of the fabric of Maine. Thanks to Maine Public Television for providing that 2010 concert video. If you want to see the whole thing, it is on their website, and we'll be providing a link to that as well. And thanks to the University of Maine Folklife Center for that interview that you did a few years ago, which was fascinating, and I think that's there online as well. I think that an awful lot of people in our state would look at Dave Mallett as one of our great Mainers.
Agreed. Thank you, Don.
Welcome.